I'm the Jaguars now at 7.
Yeah.
You already made me sign Nick Foles. I would take Dwayne Haskins here, though.
Okay.
If I wasn't tied to Nick Foles.
You are tied to
I'm
Nick
too
Foles,
tied to
pretty
him,
much.
right?
Yeah.
Do we have an out in this contract after? Is there like an out, like a 15-day out?
No, there's no.
There's no out that I can. Okay.
Money back guarantee, 30-day.
So now I'm stuck. I'm stuck with Nick Foles. I have to build somewhere on the offensive side of the ball here. I can't believe I'm going to do this because I'm going to do the thing that we said is going to happen here, I think.
You're going to do it.
I think DK Metcalf, the wide receiver from Ole Miss, is on the board here. Even though he's not a perfect prospect, might be a perfect fit for Nick Foles. You know, if Nick Foles is going to take me as the Jaguars GM to the promised land, I need DK Metcalf and a bunch of other guys like that. Have to start somewhere, building those playmakers around him. I can't believe the way this draft is flowing here. It's a strong defensive draft, and here I am going against my nature.
DK.
I'm taking DK Metcalf.
He's in. DK Metcalf's number 7 today. I think it's a very realistic also.
Yeah.
About what happens in this draft.
Well, you keep saying the Jaguars at 7, the Bills at 9 are two teams to build around Nick Foles, to build around Josh Allen. DK is a great fit for what they already have, what they need to maximize two quarterbacks who have pretty good arms to drive the ball down the field, and he has to be that guy. But number 19, the Tennessee Titans are now on the clock. Couple different ways I can go here, but I'm loving the way the wide receiver board's falling. I think the Titans are in position to just add playmakers, give Hall of Famer Corey Davis some help.
Yes.
That's what he needs. So we're going to go A.J. Brown from Ole Miss. The next two receivers on our board are A.J. Brown and J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. I don't like Arcega-Whiteside paired with Marcus Mariota as a contested catch guy. I need a guy that can get open a little bit better than that. That's A.J. Brown. He can win from the slot. He can win from the outside. We are loading up on playmakers in Tennessee. So A.J. Brown, Ole Miss, wide receiver now off the board to the Titans at 19.
A.J. Brown took over for DK Metcalf when he got hurt in that outside receiver role and averaged 128 yards a game in that role. He's not a slot only. Freak athlete in his own right, 4'4", 940, 6'8", 9'3" cone at 226 pounds. Over the yards he put up in the SEC, there's not a lot of guys do that. It's a tough conference to pass the football in with all the athletes that get drafted defensively, as we've already seen here. And he did it. Only a junior, already just still young. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to like A.J. Brown as a first rounder.
That's leaving me with some question marks here. The Houston Texans at 23.
I really did just
You took our last first-round tackle or guard off the board. There's a first-round center remaining in Elton Jenkins.
But you got Nick Martin. Yeah, that's probably the one position.
Nick Martin's at center, right.
Yeah.
So Houston, who we continue to pencil in at least an offensive tackle, most likely an offensive tackle, now has no good first-round options. The next guy on our board is Greg Little. We have a second-round grade on him. I don't want to stretch and reach for him. It has left a couple interesting scenarios here, though. By the way, you may have noticed Montez Sweat is not off the board for us. That Montez Sweat and Rashawn Gary, are they the two biggest names that are not off the board yet that, based off our board, might not make it off the board here?
Yeah, I think those are the two biggest names. Obviously, besides the quarterbacks, in terms of Drew Lock, Daniel Jones could also go first round. But I don't think maybe you're right. Maybe Josh Jacobs could be in the first round conversation if a team really wants to go end up doing that. But yes, Rashawn Gary, Montez Sweat, we have second round grades on at the moment. That's just where we see those players at.
So you might not hear their names called in our first round mock draft. I'm going to debate right now for the Houston Texans between J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, big-bodied receiver, opposite DeAndre Hopkins, with Will Fuller still in the, not in the slot, but still as that deep threat.
Yeah,
I think there's a way for those three to mix. However, I also like the idea of tight end in the Houston scheme. Either way, I think it's got to be an offensive pick that's either going to protect Deshaun Watson or give him somebody to throw to. In this sense, I think Arcega-Whiteside might be a little bit too close to DeAndre Hopkins stylistically.
Okay.
So I'm going Hawkinson. So I'm taking, I know you're not going to ever draft a tight end in the first round, Mike, but I'm doing it. I'm taking TJ Hawkinson, the Iowa tight end. I think this is where his value starts to be proper. Okay. In the 20s, good all-around tight end. He's a fantastic run blocker for whatever that's worth. Fun to watch.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Is that
fun to watch?
Good analysis? Fun to watch. Enjoyable watching him in the run game. But a stretch the seam type of guy, can work the short and intermediate game. Will Fuller's the deep threat. DeAndre Hopkins, the uber possession receiver. So I think you're starting to round out a pretty good group of playmakers in Houston.
Yeah, I don't hate it there. Hawkinson would have been on my board for 24 at the Raiders. I think that's a position that they could have used as well. But I do think they use those tight ends in a quarterback running offense. When you're doing a lot of option heavy stuff, you can do a lot of things with your tight ends from a run blocking perspective and then from a receiving perspective that really can confuse teams if you have a good one. So I think from that perspective, it makes sense for the Texans.
So you're up for 2 picks here, man.
I am up for 2 picks with the Colts at 26, then the Raiders at 27. Colts at 26, I'm going to be the one to pull the trigger on J.J. Arcega-Whiteside here. You brought in Devin Funchess, but you can't have too many weapons there around
1 year of Funchess.
Andrew Luck. Yes, only 1 year of Funchess. And you get T.Y. Hilton. You have him as the slot, mover around piece. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you can plug him in on the outside, contested catch. Another red zone threat to add to Eric Ebron there in that offense. It's just going to be tough to guard around the goal line. And I think that he fits perfectly with what they already have there offensively.
Wow.
And then so
the Colts definitely need to attack wide receiver. I think the board will fall to a place where a pretty good wide receiver will be there for the Colts at 26. I like that.
And then the Raiders up on the clock at 27. I already had a tough time with the pick before this with their pick of Amani Oruwariye. I am going to go a little off the board here, not off the board, but off the wall here, and reach for a guy that I kind of like his potential, but Hakeem Butler.
Really?
Out of Iowa State, pair him with Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, the big-bodied guy in that offense. Just give Garrett Carr basically no excuse in that offense. If he doesn't do it with this group, he's probably not going to be your guy. Antonio Brown, Tyrell Williams, Hakeem Butler, that's going to be getting off the bus. That looks good.
So that I like. And again, if you're following along at home with our draft board, you'll see we have Hakeem Butler behind 2 other receivers on our top 50 board right now. Mm-hmm. Indy Isabella, the wide receiver from UMass, and Marquise Brown from Oklahoma. But Isabella and Brown are both speed, undersized outside guys. Mm-hmm. So you just went more stylistically Hakeem Butler to fit in that offense over the 2 guys that are above the board.
Yes.
So that's where best player available does. It takes a bit of a turn because scheme fit and current roster fit do matter. Mm-hmm. That you don't always just go down the board because you have to fit all these pieces in.
It's just going to be tough to guard all 3 of those if you're looking at an opposing defense from a matchup perspective. What kind of answer do you have for Brown, Williams, and Butler?
That's where I feel good about Hakeem Butler coming off the board. That's where I feel pretty good.
At number 30 overall, the Green Bay Packers, we're going to go wide receiver. We're going to go Andy Isabella. Article coming out on the website tomorrow about how he's worthy of a first-round pick. But you want to pencil him in the slot? Fine, he can go play in the slot there in Green Bay because they have a need. But he is more than just a slot receiver my eyes, but as a vertical down-the-field weapon from the slot. He can do a lot of things that Brandon Cooks can do, a lot of things that Tyreek Hill can do in terms of challenging safeties with that speed. The fastest 40 of any wide receiver in this class shows up repeatedly on tape. If you don't get hands at him, if he gets a step on you, you're toast. Andy Isabella to the Packers, adding some much-needed speed along with Devontae Adams there.
I'm now picking at number 33 for the Arizona Cardinals. The first pick of the draft, the Cardinals went with Kyler Murray. And still on our draft board is Marquise Brown, the Oklahoma wide receiver. Mm-hmm. So Kyler Murray's teammate, Marquise Brown, that's who I'm picking.
Ooh.
If it's a need for the Cardinals,
double dip in Homa.
Copying and pasting him over.
Yeah.
Deep threat, speed. He's missed all the offseason because of his Liz Frank injury. Mm-hmm. Is that how you pronounce it? Liz Frank?
Yeah, they need help offensively. I mean, whoever they do draft, if they do, or whoever is behind center, whether it's Josh Rosen, whether it's Kyler Murray, they're going to need more on the offensive line, going to need more at wide receiver. So I think after that first pick, wherever they do go there, it's going to be some offense in the next couple of rounds for them. On to Jacksonville Jaguars. First round, they went DK Metcalf at number 7 overall. They're going to go offense. More playmakers here. Iowa tight end, not TJ Hawkinson. He went in the first round, but Noah Fant falls to him.
That's
I think
a good one.
They'd be hard-pressed to pass on him. Add a ton of athleticism in DK Metcalf and Noah Fant to that offense. A lot of speed at both those positions. Just weapons for Nick Foles. Make that QB signing. Give him as much talent as you possibly can there. And he's a blocker. He's not nothing as a blocker. He can add as a blocker as well. He can contribute to their running game. He's not completely inept at that.
Yeah, he's not a terrible blocker. And so now when you have him and DK Metcalf, wow, that's definitely some serious speed that they've added. If you're the Jaguars, I think you're happy with the potential that you've added to your offense to help Nick Foles so far in that draft. So I have the Lions now. And the first time around, they took Greedy Williams, a cornerback out of LSU. I'm leaning wide receiver here. And I'm going to go Deebo Samuel.
Ooh.
Wide receiver out of South Carolina. A guy that I think can do some Golden Tate type of stuff.
I was going to say very similar to Golden Tate.
Yeah, so I think that's, you saw Matthew Stafford, and again, you don't react to this, and you don't draft based off this type of reaction, but Matthew Stafford's production dropped off quite a bit when Golden Tate left. I think Deebo has a similar skill set, guy who can get open outside or in the slot, so I like Deebo to the Lions to help Matthew Stafford.
All right, on to the Steelers, 52nd overall pick here. They grabbed Devin Bush in the first round, solidifying that linebacking core, and I'm going to grab a wide receiver here. The next wide receiver on our board. This is where N'Keal Harry goes.
A lot of people are asking about him.
Wide receiver.
Why wasn't
a lot
he in
of
the
people
first
ask
round?
about him, why he's not a first rounder. To me, I see him as a slot only. I just don't see him separating on the outside at the NFL level, at a high enough level to warrant a first round pick. And if you're drafting a guy in the first round, you're not drafting, no team is drafting a pure slot. You have to be able to play outside some, because that's where you have to win on the money downs. N'Keal Harry, though, in the second round, I think that's when it starts to make sense. Incredible after the catch. Great in contested catch situations. Struggles separating down the field, but I think if you fill him in there in the slot, Juju Smith-Schuster moves to the outside more. And I think that's a good role for him. A lot of people have comped them to each other. I don't see it. Smith-Schuster was much more of a physical route runner in college and has been in the NFL. Harry, though, I think he can fit into that offense. James Washington, Juju Smith-Schuster on the outside, N'Keal Harry in the slot. I think go a long way towards recovering from that big hit your offense is going to take, losing Antonio Brown.
Man, so that is a good fit. I think that would be good value in the second round.